Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lighthouse Podcast. My name is Alex Camargo, and here with my co-host and good friend, Danny Silva. Today, we bring to you a contractor, our friend Eric Brandao, a local contractor who's been doing kitchens and bathrooms remodeling for over a decade now. Isn't that right, Eric?
Yeah.
So introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, my name is Eric Brandao. I've been doing construction honestly, for as long as I can remember. I've been doing construction either as a side project or working for a big company like Rizzo Construction here in Danbury. And they're probably one of the biggest construction companies out in Connecticut. And yeah, I worked with them for a while, and then I mustered up the courage to kind of do it on my own. I still had another job that was kind of like a part-time type of thing until I really gotten the skills that I needed to make that venture and break away and do it on my own. So
So we go all the way back, right? We went to high school together.
Yeah, we've known each other for a long time.
And I remember you used to do demo work, right? Didn't you do some demolition work?
I did some demo, I did some drywall, I did a whole bunch of stuff.
I remember that.
You know, we're talking
20
quite
years
some
ago.
time ago.
That's good. So we're happy to have you here because we've been bringing out different professionals that can help our clients in their real estate journey. And of course, you know, we constantly think about the mortgage guy and the appraiser, but we felt let's bring you in a contractor because a lot of our clients have not been able to buy their dream home because they can't qualify for that because prices have risen so much. So they're buying a house that's going to need some type of work sometime soon. And let's say they bought it a year or two ago and then they're ready to do some work now. They have to go out there and find a contractor. And of course, we have plenty of friends who are contractor. A lot of them specialize in different areas of construction. Some are framers, some do trims, some don't do trims, roofers, and all of that. And it's good to have you, somebody who can do a lot of the work inside of a home, but you focus on kitchens and bathrooms. I know it's not the only thing that you do, but you focus on those areas. And to us, that matters a lot because those end up being in often cases, the most valuable.
Well, that's what sells the house, right?
Yeah.
You know, the wife comes in and sees a beautiful kitchen and she's like, I want this house, right? So of course you want to have, something that matches.
Yeah, the boss behind the boss comes in.
Exactly. And she's like, no, we need this.
Yeah. Kitchens and bathrooms is definitely something that they're looking for whenever they go in there. So these two areas are what you're specialized in, or but are you able to take in any other projects if they come up?
Yeah, so I take on a whole mixture of different projects, from basement remodels to full home remodels. Oftentimes I do like bedroom refreshes. Husband and wife are about to have a baby, and they want to have their nursery room cleaned up and modernized and things like that. So I'll come in there and I'll do a refresh, where we'll remove the sheetrock, re-sheetrock it, insulate it, replace the windows, trim, and really modernize that space. And that's a smart move too for a lot of homeowners that are budget conscious. They don't want to just do the whole remodel all at once. They may want to do it in phases. So we'll often start in the baby's room, and then that'll lead to, once the baby gets a little bit older, to go into their own bedroom. And then once that changes, it goes into the master bedroom. And it kind of works everything out so that it keeps the cost low, but still doing progress, little steps at a time.
Yeah, which is that home ownership journey, that it's to a lot of people, it's a weekend trip to Home Depot to do a lot of the small stuff. Yep. But then once we're finally ready to work on a project that's a little bigger, and you prefer to hire somebody else because you may not be as handy as you thought you were. And I'm guilty of it, because when we bought our house, I went and I gutted the main bathroom upstairs, and it stayed gutted for 7 months because we got so busy with work. And although these hands can do a lot of work, these hands are best for typing, and that's what I do. I've noticed that I'm not as effective with my hands when it's time to do like any of the manual labor. For instance, can I lay tile down? Yes, it's just going to take me 3 or 4 times the amount of time.
Yep.
And then I came back to a realization that, I'm better selling real estate, making some money, and then paying somebody to come in here and do this work. They're going to do 3 times as good of a job in half the time.
Yep.
So I'm like,
Faster,
let's leave this
cleaner,
to the
so-
professionals. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And plus, you're blessing somebody else, like
Correct.
somebody with the job.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Yeah, keeping
Keep
everybody
the economy
happy.
flowing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%. I was thinking, in us as realtors, it helps so much a homeowner to do that refresh that you're talking about, to come and do a nice coat of paint, and because that makes a lot of difference. You do like a $20,000 project on a home before you sell it, you probably gonna get like $100,000 more for that house, because that first impression is what stays.
Yeah.
With the buyer. Do you get a lot of that? Like people who are like, oh, we're looking to sell in a couple months down the road. Can you come and can you do this refresh? And
Yeah.
I want to ask you that. And also, did you get busier after COVID? And how did prices of material going up affected your area, what you do?
Those are like two really great questions. Yeah. So today's market is insane, and I'm sure you guys both know that. So people are trying to sell their home and maximizing their return on investment or maximize their profits. So we do see a lot of, can you come in and just do a basic refresh? I have a budget of around 20 grand and I want to do, all this stuff. And I'll walk into the house and I'll often see, all right, well, you have a $20,000 budget and you want to fix up your kitchen, fix up your bathroom, and repaint the walls, floors, and things like that. It's not a realistic expectation to be able to do all that stuff. So we can't demo out the full bathroom and put new marble tile and a glass door, because that's just going to be 20 grand right there, right? So we'll find ways to take that old dated 70s tile, like that bright blue or that yellow or pink bathtub, right?
I heard those are coming back in style.
Oh, no, please. But we'll reglaze those tiles. So we'll come in with, a team, and we'll paint the tile so that it's bright white, and paint the bathtub and things like that.
Yeah.
And so that reglazing process, would brighten up that room, right? It refreshes that bathroom so that it doesn't look pink. It's not yellow. It's not blue, and it's much more affordable. So now you can still be within that $20,000 budget that they have, but refreshing the bathroom, and then using the reserves or the remaining balance to, say, sand and stain the floors or polish the floors, paint the rest of the walls, maybe refinish the kitchen, things like that. And, at that point, us as contractors, we have that fiduciary responsibility for our clients. I have a $20,000 budget. I want to sell it. Can you make it work? And there's ways, there are ways. We just got to be a little bit more creative.
Think outside the box, right? Like
Exactly.
with the whole reglazing, like the tile. This is the first I'm hearing about it.
You don't need to hit a home run on every single project, right? You want to make sure that client is happy and they get what they're looking for, because you don't need to make $1,000 once. You want to make $100 1,000 times, right? That's the saying. So
write that down. Write that down.
Right?
Write that down.
You don't want to make it, but it's true. You don't want to make $1,000 just one time. You want to make $100 1,000 times. So if I do right by you and be able to reserve that or meet your expectations, you're going to tell 5 or 6 different clients or friends, hey, you can refinish your bathtub and reglaze it, right? As opposed to redoing it. And for me, I'm going to be honest, it's a 2-day project, and I'm going to make, the monies that I need to. So it's a quick return, and it's a quick process, and that client is happy because they got a good job, they got a good service, and that the business is forever flowing,
Yeah.
I think you hit a point. I think contractors, and I'm going to generalize it, and it's not everybody, but I think a good portion of contractors actually don't spend enough time learning about new techniques and what else they can do. But more importantly, they don't spend enough time educating the clients or giving the clients options. Client will come and say, I want to do this, and the contractor may say it's not possible, or it's going to cost too much money, or it doesn't fit your budget. But I think being creative and say, okay, we can do it this way because we're going to be over budget by whatever, 30-40%. But if we do it this, and that, we may still be able to meet the budget, but get everything done. It's not going to be exactly what you wanted, but here's one option. Do you mind taking it? And I think a lot of contractors just expect that it's black and white when it really doesn't have to be black and white. I mean, there's you can definitely stretch a dollar in construction by going with different materials, by going with different looks, and still be able to have a really good end product with less money, or if you're on a budget, with less money than you expected.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of these contractors, they're also working like on transactions.
Yep.
I like the way that you said that, you give them options, because that's working with relationship.
Yep.
You build a relationship with that client. You not only keep that client, but 2, 3, 4, 6 more clients will come out of that client. And it goes the 80-20% rule. 80% of contractors, they just want to finish that project and they're done, and that's it. But 20% are investing in relationships and working like, no, yeah, I'm doing this project for you, but when you think about doing anything else 6 months down the road, you're that person that comes into mind because of the way you treated them.
Correct.
Because of the work that, the ideas that you brought to the table. So that's amazing. But the second question that I asked,
yes, yeah.
If you can go back to that,
the
reason why I ask about, the whole thing with prices going up and with material is, okay, we hear that a lot, but we also hear that it's just construction's been booming. Like it's hard to get a contractor these days to look at a job with, the next day or so. Like, it's like they're 3-4 days out. Plumbers, electricians, these guys are busy. Like they can't even take any extra jobs. And so, prices went up, but it's crazy what we hear about, with the contractors. So what has been your experience with this whole thing?
Well, I think COVID definitely played a big part in all of it, right? You have someone that's been in your home for a year and a half. So you've been home for a year and a half, and you're looking at your kitchen and saying, man, this kitchen is ugly. You've been in your house and you're using your bathroom and you're like, man, I hate this bathroom. Or you walk around the home and you're like, man, we really need to change these doors. Or, let's update the trim. Let's put crown molding. Let's paint these walls. Let's do this. Let's do this. Because you're not going out as often, right? You're not utilizing the restaurants or eating out with friends because you're now home. You're home and you're opening up your cabinets and closing it and saying, I wish I had soft close hinges. That little thing just sparks that energy, and your wife is like, honey, we need to do the kitchen.
Or you go in there, right? And you replace a light bulb with a brighter one. You're like, ooh, I hate this place. Let me
exactly. What was I thinking with this color? So things like that happen. And,
and those stimulus checks were hitting as well.
Right? And so then we're in the springtime, and people are now being more outdoors within their own home, and they're saying, I need to redo my deck. And then that starts to foster a different relationship with the client, because they're saying, oh, well, we can do this and this. And now once you start to work with them and you understand, kind of their needs and what they want, you're able to then talk to them about other services that you offer, like the reglazing of the bathtub, or refinishing the cabinets, or doing a full remodel, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of materials and rise of costs of materials, yeah, a lot of stuff has been going up. So I remember there were times where I would buy a 2x4 for less than $3, one 2x4. I think I was at Home Depot the other day and I paid $12 for one, the same, stick. And we would buy plywood for less than $30, and now it's over $100 for some sheets of plywood.
Yeah.
So material's definitely gone up. But I still think that it's moving in the right direction, because the material, yes, has gone up, and you're paying 30% more. But if you're doing it in the terms of remodeling your home to resell your home, right? You're paying that 30% markup on your materials right now, but you're going to gain 30 or 40% on your resale. So I think it's all balanced within its range. But as long as we keep things where they need to be, and not much more, I think we'll be able to sustain this for a little while.
And slightly switching gears, being in let's say focusing on kitchens and bathrooms, what kind of design trends are you seeing? For instance, for the last 3, 4, 5, actually maybe 3, 4 years, almost every new construction that we walked in had the light gray walls and then the white trims. But now I feel that white is making a comeback. Is that what you're seeing more?
White, 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 white. Everything white. Everything white.
50 Shades of White.
50 Shades of White. Everything has to be white. Man, how do I put this in a good way? So you can still have a white kitchen or a white bathroom or a white color walls and surfaces and be too sterile, right? Looks like a doctor's office or a dentist's office, and you are immediately turned off by that. But you can also keep whites and it be warm and glowing and feeling very comfortable and things like that. And it's all the hues. It's the type of family that you're in within that coloration. So I was saying before that we used Trinity lace, which is a paint that's white. It's a true white. You see it on a color and a palette. But once it goes on the walls, it's a warm white. It has a lot of yellow into it. So there's a yellow undertone. And that warmth kind of makes that space feel a little more whole. And we noticed that even using the same color white, so Trinity lace on the ceilings, on your crown molding, your walls, and then your base molding and your doors, just by painting it a flat ceiling white, then you have your semi-gloss for the crown molding, semi-gloss for your doors and trim, and then your matte finish for the walls. Just those 3 different shades makes the whole room look different. And it's all the same color. It's just a different shade. It's incredible.
And you can use different accent pieces to make it your own, to pull whatever decor you want.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting.
Exactly.
That solidifies what we were feeling in seeing that some of our new constructions, for instance, they're doing farmhouses again and all that, and it's white on white on white.
Yep.
But we understand even the different finishes, like a satin finish, for instance, or a matte finish, as opposed to a glossy, depending on where you're doing it. It makes a huge difference, even though it's white.
Yep.
But it's a different shade of white.
Thank you, Chip and Joanna Gain, for using all white in the farmhouse.
Yeah, that in knowing what's trending right now is what makes a lot of difference, even for the investors out there. I learned this trick with a guy named Ryan Pineda. He talks about, he's an investor and he flips houses, and
Yep.
and the way that he said that any house that you're doing a flip, just copy the comps, because that's how the appraisers are going to look at it. They're going to look at the comps, they're going to look at the numbers, and then they're going to, okay, so for example, if 3 of the comps that when you look up on the market has like white walls and white everything, just do white everything. That's why how like the light gray, like everybody had light gray in their house. I have light gray in my house right now. So yeah, that's amazing. Let me ask you a question. What areas do you cover? Is it just the Lower Fairfield, or are you up to go anywhere in the state of Connecticut, New York even? Because you drive 20 minutes down the street in the state of New York.
Yep.
What areas do you cover?
I cover primarily the Fairfield County area. So, obviously business is booming construction. So fortunately for me, I can stay within a 30-minute radius of my hometown of Danbury. So I can stay really within the Bethel, Brookfield, Danbury area. I got 2 little boys, and in case I need to go and pick them up or something or be readily available, I can do that. But by doing that, it also helps me control my labors as well, my team, my subcontractors and things like that. Being within that half an hour radius, if I need to go to one job or another, I can do that within that same time. It keeps me busy, it keeps me active, but it also helps, keep the customers happy too, because I can now take on 2 or 3 projects where if I was primarily working in a different area, say Greenwich, which is almost an hour from Danbury, I would be really focused on only working on that one particular project. Where if I'm here or I'm a little bit more local, I can bounce around between a couple of different projects and keep the teams rolling, which means I can take on more business and keep everybody happy.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. Which areas of construction, as a GC, I understand you're very involved in a lot of the projects, and you do a portion of the projects yourself,
Yep.
right? And
Does he? Is he hands-on?
yeah, he's in.
I'm on site.
Yeah, I've seen him with dirty pants. And
Yeah,
shoes and all
okay,
that.
I'm on
I mean,
site.
we'll take a shot of his shoes right now, and you can tell him. So, what areas do you do yourself? Like, do you install the cabinets? Do you do the tile? Do you, of course, you sub out the countertops, for instance, and you light plumbing, you probably do, but then whatever needs a permit, then you may be able to sub that out as well.
Yep.
What do you do?
I try to take on everything that needs attention to detail to the max, all right? So if we are installing cabinets, I'm the one that's installing the cabinets, because I want to make sure that, one, the cabinets are perfectly level and balanced, the crown molding, the trim, the detail, everything is exactly cut the way that I want it to. And I'm not saying that there's not other great installers, because there definitely is, but I feel that if there was a mistake during the installation process, I would see it, pick up on it, and replace it. And I don't mind buying another 4 or 5 sticks of crown molding if I make a bad cut, because I know that the end result is not only going to look great now, but in 5 years it's going to look great.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want is, in this busy market, 6 months down the line, one of my clients saying, "Hey, Eric, we have a problem. I need you to come out and fix it." So I want to make sure that I prevent those problems from ever happening. And so I like to take time to do that. I'll also be hands-on in terms of painting the walls or installing the trim, the sheetrock, the taping. I won't really get too involved in the plumbing or the electrical. I like to leave that with the licensed guys. All my projects I pull permits for, so it's important that I have a licensed electrician from the beginning, start to do all his rough and finishes. I have a licensed plumber that I do for all his rough and finishes. And then occasionally I will come in and do little things, little changes, like change out a light switch, just so it matches the decor of the room, things like that.
Yeah, and so you're laying out tile.
Yep.
I've seen some of the designs,
too, yeah.
and it's like some of your designs were beautiful. I've seen some
Thanks.
of the pictures on your Instagram profile, which
Yep.
we'll leave the addresses here for us, for our followers and our friends. I think what I wanted to get to was, this process ensures quality control,
Yes.
right? Because nobody pays more attention to a job or to a project than the contractor, the owner of the company, but also the homeowner on the other side of it, saying, "Hey, like, this tile, this third roll of tile is a little crooked, but still you finished all the way to the ceiling. Now we have to go through a lot of work just to remove, and you could have stopped here, and you could have rectified it before you actually continued." And sometimes an employee or a subcontractor may not be as
diligent.
Exactly.
I guess, right?
Yeah.
100% agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So I always say, and this is with everybody that I work with, whenever we're on a project, we treat it in a finished phase, right? So at the end of the day, the customer is still going to come to the house and take a look often, right? It may not always be that there's a new home construction or the family's away on vacation, but often the customer will come home at the end of the project. And if we leave that kitchen or that bathroom a mess, they're going to remember that. That's going to resonate with them forever, right? It doesn't matter how fast we moved, how clean the job, or how the job finished at the end, but if it was dusty or messy, they're going to remember that. And so we keep that in at the end of the project. It's a finished look. We sweep up, we put our tools away, we organize things, and oftentimes, I kid you not, there'll be days we'll be working for an hour after we finish, just organizing the job site, so that when the client comes home for the weekend or looks at the house during that project, it's still presentable. It's still presentable.
It goes back to what we always talk about. How you do anything is how you do everything.
Yes.
Right? I mean, one of my coaches for real estate, he used to paint houses before, and he said that every time he was done with a project, he would clean the windows and change the light bulbs. just so the client could see like how good of a job they did. That's going above and beyond.
That is,
you know,
yeah.
that's going above and beyond, and keeping it clean, and like you said, not the dusty and everything like that. There's clients are gonna be like, hey, they can't even take care of the cleanliness. Like, what guarantee that this is gonna be a good job? So that's such a positive thing to do right there.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, we are human, right? So mistakes do happen, and there's been projects where the plastic wasn't 100% sealed, mitigating the dust barrier between the two rooms. And I have a cleaning crew come in at the end of the project and clean the whole home for the house, or the whole project. And it can get pricey at times. There's definitely been times where I've paid a lot more than I expected. But at the end of the day, the project looks beautiful,
Yeah,
right?
it's an investment.
The client's
Right,
mind, and they see that as wow, he really had a cleaning crew come in here and do that. And also too, during the COVID time frame too, when COVID was really, Omicron and the Delta variant and things like that, I had a disinfectant company come in, right, and spray disinfectant solution for the COVID projects at the end of our project. So you're talking about someone that went above and beyond, changing the light bulbs and paint and cleaning the windows, right? So I would finish someone's bathroom or their kitchen or a whole home remodel, and I would have a COVID disinfectant team come in and spray right before the homeowner even gets to the house. Man, what did that do? What did that do, right?
Yeah.
So you have to go above and beyond, always. It's that 80-20, right?
It's that 80-20.
It's that 80-20.
It's easier to keep a client than to find a new one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly. Repeat business is so important.
Yeah.
And you've been blessed enough to, because of how you do work, you've been blessed enough to be able to stay busy even now, looking at the next few months with quite a few jobs lined up without having to do any advertising whatsoever.
Yeah, I do no advertising.
Yeah.
It's just word of mouth. I'll do the occasional Facebook post or Instagram post and things like that, but it's really just being genuine. You just got to be good, and I think that goes exactly what you were saying before. It's like what you are, it's what you do, right? So if I'm a genuine person, or I'm trying to be good, working in the right direction, it's going to show in your work.
Yeah.
It's going to show in the outcome of things. Yeah.
You brand yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, thank you so much for spending this time with us. We really appreciate you coming
absolutely,
down. Really appreciate sharing some knowledge and experience with us. We'll leave your contact information for our friends in case they're looking for a contractor. I'm sure that they can reach out to you and ask questions, even if they don't choose to work with you. I'm just knowing the person that you are. You'll definitely give them a few tips and recommendations. Is there anything that you like to say to anybody looking to do a project in the near future? Any recommendations to them? Look for the right professionals. Let's say, for instance, if you're going to get a tile installer for your bathroom, make sure that your tile installer knows about waterproofing.
Yes.
For instance, right? Because that matters a lot, right?
Well, I'll leave two things. So the first thing I want to talk about is the waterproofing method, right? So your waterproofing, a lot of people would just say, all right, we're going to just install cement board or the Schluter board system and just tile right over it. Yeah, you could do that, but grout is not waterproof, right? Tile is not waterproof. Ceramic is not waterproof. The membrane behind it is where the waterproofing comes into play. Cement board like Durarock and Hardy board from the box, that's not waterproof either. So you really need to go through and apply a waterproof membrane like Red Guard or other types of products to mitigate that water barrier, right? So that if water does permeate behind the tile or the grout, it doesn't go into your 2x4. It doesn't go into the insulation. It doesn't go into the other side of the room or make a big disaster. And I have been on projects and I've been on jobs where I've seen pictures and posts of other people doing work, and I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have a problem with that. Yeah. And I'll let them know from the beginning. So that's, you gotta make sure that you vet whoever you're hiring. And so that leads to my second point. When I first started construction, I was good friends with this guy. His name was Chris, and he had a saying that there's 3 things that you can have. You can have something that's good, cheap, and fast, but you can only pick 2. So if you want something good and cheap, it's not going to be fast. If you want something fast and good, it's not going to be cheap, right? So that always stuck with me, because when you're looking for someone that, even for me, I have to hire subcontractors. Sometimes I get too busy and I need to, hire for somebody else. And I'll get a couple of bids. And if someone is really good and cheap, I know that he's going to be a little bit slower on the project. And some projects you can support that additional timeline. But you got to vet your people. You got to go through it and check for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. I really appreciate you you coming here. Denny, you have any final words?
No, that's it. Thank you so much for coming by. One of the big reasons why we do this podcast is a way of giving back to the community. A lot of the stuff that you said here today, there may be somebody doing a project in their bathroom right now and they didn't know about the waterproof thing. So we want to, that's one more thing that you did to add value to the community. So thank you for that. And we hope to get you back here for our number 2 podcast.
We'll do a podcast at the job site now.
That'd be fun.
At the job
I
site,
don't know about the job site. It'd be a little too noisy, but we could probably do something. Right? We'll figure something out.
And he'll give us a discount whenever we need something at our home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, very good. Thank you all so much for watching this podcast. As always, remember to like it, subscribe it, share this with a friend. It'll help us grow this channel. And once again, thank you, Eric, for being here. We're going to leave Eric's contact information down below. If you need to reach out to him, we're going to leave his phone number and his email address there as well, and as well as his social media accounts. Thank you so much.